Imagine waking up each day, scrolling through your phone, heading to work or school, chatting about the latest trends, all without really questioning any of it. You're moving, reacting, functioning, but are you really alive? French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre would say you're living in bad faith, a kind of self-deception where you go through the motions, pretending you have no real choice, when in fact, you do. Sartre believed that humans are condemned to be free. That sounds harsh, but what he meant was this: we are free to choose who we become, and with that freedom comes responsibility. However, many of us avoid this burden. We tell ourselves, I have to do this job, or this is just how life works, because it's easier than confronting the terrifying reality that we are the authors of our lives. This form of denial, where we let routines or roles define us, is what Sartre called bad faith. You might say, but I didn't choose the world I was born into. That's true. Sartre didn't deny the limitations placed on us, our culture, our past, even our biology, but he emphasized that our reaction to those limits is always our own. Think of life like a blank canvas that's already been splattered with paint. You didn't choose the stains, but you still hold the brush. What picture you paint next is up to you. Being authentic, according to Sartre, means acknowledging this freedom and choosing your actions consciously. Not based on what's expected, not based on fear, but from a place of self-awareness. This doesn't mean living selfishly. It means living deliberately. When you live this way, you're no longer a passive character in your own story. You become the author, the director, the one behind the lens. But authenticity isn't easy. The world is full of distractions, social expectations, media, even well-meaning advice from family and friends. These all form what Sartre would call the gaze of the other, the way we start to see ourselves through other people's eyes. And once that happens, we risk performing for approval, not for truth. We act like characters rather than real individuals. To break free from this performance, Sartre urges us to confront what he calls existential angst. This isn't depression, it's the raw feeling of realizing that life has no built-in meaning. At first, that's scary. But it's also liberating. Because if life has no pre-written script, that means you're free to write your own. It's in that space of freedom where true meaning is born, not given, but created. Let's take a simple example. Say you're working a job you don't like, but you tell yourself, I have bills, I have no choice. Sartre would challenge you. Is it really that you have no choice, or are you avoiding the discomfort of change? The authentic path might still involve staying at that job, but only if you've consciously chosen it, knowing full well that alternatives exist and you're not a prisoner to circumstance. Living authentically means constantly checking in with yourself. Am I doing this because it reflects my values? Or am I doing it because it's expected of me? It's not about being perfect, it's about being awake. Choosing rather than drifting. Owning your life, even the parts you wish were different. So how do you begin? Sartre doesn't offer a one-size-fits-all formula. Instead, he encourages reflection and action. Pay attention to the moments that bring you alive. Take small risks that align with who you really are. Speak honestly, even when it's hard. Choose purpose over comfort. Slowly, you start reclaiming your life from the narrative others wrote for you. Jean-Paul Sartre was born in 1905 in Paris and became one of the most influential existentialists of the 20th century. His key works, like Being and Nothingness and Existentialism is a Humanism, explore freedom, responsibility, and the search for meaning in a chaotic world. He turned down the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1964, saying that writers should not become institutions. That, in itself, was a radical act of authenticity. In the end, Sartre reminds us that we are not objects. We are not cogs in a machine. We are consciousness, freedom, and possibility. Yes, that's a lot to carry, but it's also what makes life worth living. The question is, will you keep drifting, or will you wake up and start choosing?